There was a question about homework 2. For homework 2, the cube is a cube that holds the correct number of gumballs, right? You want the smallest cube that will hold the correct number of gumballs with no partial gumballs. So you can get, you can drive the side length of the cube from that, and it's due Thursday night at 11:59 p.m., just before midnight. All right, so let's get back to our handy-dandy notebook. So why? Oh, I'm in the PDF now. There we are. Okay, so we did this. Before we get into our foray into images, let's just take a little quick review or a quick basics, a primer on how modules work. So when we have modules, I told you that we can put in variables, we can put in data, and we can put in functions, right? So it's a collection of Python variables, functions, and objects. A variable points to an object, so it's basically functions and objects with variables that allow you to access them. The cool thing is they allow code to be shared across many programs. And when you uploaded or when you downloaded Pillow from the Python repository of stuff, what you're actually doing is that's one of the things that's being shared, and that's an open source image development library that is freely available for Python. So that's all we did when we downloaded Python when we downloaded Pillow we downloaded a bunch of files that define modules. But you can do your own modules. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. You guys do not want me typing this stuff in. Right? So we're going to start up here. I'm going to grab... Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I don't know why I have problems grabbing that first letter, but I'm good with the second letter. Okay, so we're going to start off here. I'm going to create a new file. We'll paste this information in. And then we'll put in, this is our module for holding surface area calculations. Okay, and we could put in a date. We could put in homework 2, prep. I don't know, whatever we want to do. It's not really homework 2 prep, so I don't want to confuse things. But we can do this. Then we have our functions. First off, we need the math functions because we're going to be using things like pi. So if we want to use pi, we have to import them. It's good to import them in the module that uses it because then it's always there when you need it. We've defined 3 functions: the area of a circle with a radius. We've given a description of it that says what it is. Same with cylinder, right? Return the surface area of a cylinder. And you know what? We will do that so that we can actually see it all. And then the surface area of a sphere. We'll do the same thing. Okay, so this module, this Python file, and notice that it's just a Python file. Right now it says Untitled 3. I'm going to save this to, and again, just like it is on the homeworks, this is very important that we get this right. Lecture07 area.py. Okay, and now if we want to access this, as with any other module, all we have to do, all we have to do is do something like import Lecture07 area. And now we can do something like help Lecture07 area. And what you're going to find out is that this is just derived from this top stuff. This is the description that we put in, along with the author's name. That's my name on my PC, on my laptop. And then these are all the functions along with the comments for the functions. And then this is where it's actually found. So by following our directives, by doing what we tell you to do, with this initial little description of your module, and then descriptions for every function within the module, and then you please continue to do good commenting on complicated or large blocks of code. But as long as you do this, we can get help, and that's why this is a really important thing to get used to. Each Python has a location where it stores external modules. This particular one is just looking in the same directory, right, that it's running in. So I have a directory set up, users westtu/class, and that's where I'm doing all my stuff. So if it's in the same directory as the code that's importing it, you're fine. And that's how we're going to ask you to do it for any of the submissions to Submiti. Okay? And it doesn't search your whole PC. There is each Python installation. In fact, Python 2 versus Python 3, they have their own specific installation place where they put these types of modules. So if you're switching Pythons, you may have to import things. You may have to download things more than once. All right. But now that we've done this, right, now we can come in here and we can say, what is circle of radius 9? Oops. We can do, for example, Lecture07 area dot circle of radius 9, right? Because remember, we import using the import function with the name of our module minus the .py. And then to access the functions that we've imported that way, it's module name dot function name. And the same would be if we had variables in there. It would be module name dot variable name. And we do the same with the cylinder. Nine, let's say 7, right? Radius 9, height 7, right? And we could do the same with a sphere. Well, let's do this one because I only have one parameter. Go ahead. So that is that depends upon your assumptions, right? You can do that. It's not a bad idea. Particularly if your code is going to break because of it. But maybe that's an error case, and if somebody's putting a negative number, maybe you actually want to tell them that's a bad number to use, or maybe it doesn't matter, right? So in our case, it's not going to break anything. Right, so the area of a sphere is 4 pi, 4 pi r squared or something like that, or something. Yeah, 4 pi r squared. So it depends on that is a error checking is something that you should figure out based on the larger context of the program. So if you want to flag an error case, or if you want to always assume it's positive, those are possible. Things you can do to validate your input or decide, but that's something that has to be decided at a higher level. There's no right or wrong answer there. This one in particular, the only place where we actually need the absolute value would be in the cylinder, right, where we have this height. Otherwise we're always squaring the radius. No, I'm sorry. Yep, we have one here too. Okay, so in the cylinder is the only place we would need it, because in the circle and in the sphere, we're always squaring the radius, and there's only one parameter. So it wouldn't matter whether we do the absolute value or not. We may want to flag if we have a negative value, or we may want to take some other action if there's a negative value and we decide that's an error condition. It won't break our code, though. Okay, so that's just a kind of a review, or maybe an extension of what we can do on modules. Is there anything else on that? No. No, so it always rounds to the nearest value with that significant bit. But in the case of a tie, it rounds to the even. And that's IEEE 754, I think. That's actually a specification on most computers as the default rounding behavior. Not all languages do it, but Python does follow the IEEE standard. Okay. And that's answered in the discussion forum because I actually answered it. Yep. Okay. Right, you can't put it. Right, I kind of mentioned this a few minutes ago, but it has to where we're going to ask you to put it is please put it in the same directory as the code you're developing that uses it. That will always work. That's one of the places that Python looks. There are other places you can put it, and if you look, you'll find where your Pillow modules are installed. Right, Pillow was a module you installed. It's installed under Miniconda 3. Let's see. I don't remember the exact directory, but it's, there is a place where you can install them that make it available to all your programs. But in general, what we'll ask you to do is to install them, in your the same directory that you're doing the development. All right. Okay. You're welcome. Anybody else? Oh, packages. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like it may be under Miniconda 3/packages, although I'd have to take another look. That's not looking quite right to me. I think this may just be the download cache. All right. Any other questions? All right. So let's move on to. Sorry, now I'm distracted. Let's move on to actually using Pillow. So Pillow actually has three different, at least the last time I checked, it has three different modules in it. So if we look at importing Pillow, we'll come in here and we'll import one of them. We'll say from Pill import image. Image module is the one we're going to use the most. And we can now do, I think, a help on image, but I'm not sure if that'll work or not. Yeah. Help. What is it? Oh. There we go. Help on image has a capital I. All right. So we can actually get the same kind of help that I've just been referring you guys to, and you'll see there's a lot there. It's a big module. You're not responsible for this for your test, but it's nice to know that all this stuff is there if you actually want to use something and play with it. And when you get to lab 5, I think you'll actually get a chance to play with this. When we get help image where image has a capital I. Okay. Okay. So the first thing we have to understand is how. Now remember, images are an abstraction, and an image can be defined by the module that uses it. So this is a general description. It actually describes how most images are stored conceptually, but it's not necessary that every module defines an image the same. Then again, this is the way that it's generally defined, except every now and then somebody will swap where this origin is. Some medical images, for example, put it down here. But for our purposes, what we have is we have a two-dimensional array of pixel values. Okay, so these are the colors that make up the image. This one right here is pixel 00. This one over here is width of the image -1, 0, right? So it's how wide the image is, right? If you start at 0 and count to W -1, width -1, you end up with, if width is 512, 0 to 511 gives you 512 pixels. And then counting down, these are the number of rows, and that represents the height of the image. So that goes from 0 to h-1, where h-1 is the height. And I said, and by the way, there is other information you can get on Pillow for up there. And what I told you was that this was an interesting way to do tuples. And there's two reasons why it's an interesting way to do tuples. And the first is the coordinate system, right? Where we have this coordinate system where we have a column coordinate and a row coordinate. And that fits really nicely into a tuple, right? It's a two-tuple. And the other reason is we also have our pixel values themselves. And if you're familiar with anything about how images are constructed, they generally have an R, a G, and a B value for red, green, blue. And that also fits really nicely into a tuple. And you can actually throw on something like alpha if you wanted as well and make it a 4-tuple. RGB, exactly. And these are just some basic values. Black is all zeros. Red is you set the red really high and the other two down pretty low. 0, for example, is a pure red. Green, 0, 255, 0. And blue is 0, 0, 255. And you'll notice that all of our color values go from 0 to 255, which gives us 256 gradations of the color. White is all the pixels on, and then you can get various shades of gray all the way down to black by keeping the three values the same and kind of moving them up and down. In the Python, in Pillow, there are some important image modules. The one we're going to use, the main one, lets you open, save, resize, crop, paste, create new images, change pixels, etc. And then image draw, which we're not going to really get into, allows you to touch up images. You can add text, draw on your images. And image font is just allows you to convert text into cool little fonts. But we're going to concentrate mainly on the image one, and that's really all you'll need for the lab. But we do want you to know that the other ones are available if you're interested. By the way, if you go to the code written in class, all of these things are there, so you don't actually have to pull these out. Right, here's the circle. Here's some code to use the circles. I kind of did these by hand, but we do have some code that actually demonstrates it. Here's our pillow, our first pillow example, and we'll just start with that. I'm going to do a Control-C to grab that. We'll come back into here. We'll create a new folder, and I'm not going to bother with the niceties of commenting this, but let's just look at what we're doing here. You know what I never checked was whether I can actually open up these images. We're going to hope. So let me it worked very well on my there we go. Okay, so it worked very well on my Mac that I do all my preparation on, but I didn't realize I never tested on this platform. Okay, here's a picture of a chipmunk. If we look at our code, what we're going to do is we're doing our import, and we're only going to import the image module from the pill. Well, from pill, which is a module, but it's more of a module of modules. We're going to set the file name to be chipmunk.jpg. That's this cool little guy. And Let's see, can I just step through this? Okay, yeah, I think I can do this. Okay, so where did I get to? No, that's running it. Dang it. Let me try again. I have to get used to this debugger. All right. We will debug the file. And now we will start stepping through it. Okay, so we're on the pill import. Right, so this is where we're going to import the pill module. I've got like, since I hit the wrong button, I've got a bunch of these in there. All right, we're going to set a file name to be chipmunk.jpg, and then we're going to do image to open the file name. So now what this is going to do is it's going to read from chipmunk.jpg. It's going to open up that file name and put it into a variable image. And now, or IM, and now if we do something like im.show, what we'll actually do is we will bring up this cool little window that shows the image. So image open, reads the image in, returns this IM, which is kind of a handle to that image. And then im.show allows us to see what is in variable IM, right? Okay, so this is the image. It's of type image, and show is a function that's defined on that, and what show does is it shows it. And some of you had problems with your image browser on your new computers. If you didn't have something set up to read image files, you would get unable to open. It was just a matter, this IM show actually uses your system image viewer to put this image up. So you can see that this is actually, well, it's not actually telling me what it is. It's of whatever this thing is. Photos, Microsoft Photos. I'm going to kill that for now. We can take another step. We're going to print out some stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to put out some information about the chipmunk.jpg file. In particular, we're going to tell it what the format is. The format's JPEG, which you would expect with something that ends in JPG. This tells us how big it is. It's 560 by 417. And this tells us what kind of an image it is. In particular, it tells us it's RGB. You can also have something that's an L for luminance. And you'll find out that luminance is, in fact, black and white or grayscale. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this image, right, IM, and we're going to convert it to a luminance image, which is a grayscale image. And we're also, well, let's show that, and we can look at gray image.show. And notice that I can go through debugging this. And at the same time I'm debugging it, we can be, typing commands in there to see what our IM convert did, for example. So we can see that this is now, essentially a grayscale image of the guy I got rid of. All right, so we got this guy and we got the other guys. There we go. Right, so this is not grayscale and this is grayscale. And we can come in and we can do other things. So we can come in. It switched over to it, didn't it? That's one of the times when I want it to be doing everything and it's switching out. Okay, so this is the black and white, and then the grayscale is around here someplace. Okay, this is going to be a pain in the neck. You can go away. Okay, there you go. Okay, that's what the gray image looks like. Okay, we'll go back to Spider for a second. I'll try to remember to do that. And now we can do a scaling. And I'm not going to bother showing you that because I'll have to kind of go back and forth a couple of times. We could resize it, right, to be a square image, 128 by 128. So you can see that it was originally not square. So there's going to be a little bit of distortion introduced in this. It doesn't look like it's going to be too bad. And now we can do some regular prints, and we will give out some additional information on the new image. And you'll see that it doesn't know what format it is because this is a new image. We haven't saved it out at all yet. So we could end up saving it out in whatever format we wanted. It does have a new size. We told it to resize it to 128 by 128, and it's no longer RGB. It's now luminance, grayscale. And now we can look at this, and not only is it gray, it's also a lot smaller. So this is the rescaling. There's a little distortion here. You can't see it so well in this small image, but it's there. And yeah, just about dropped my papers. All right, so let's walk through a little bit more. We can save it out as a file. And I think that's all we're going to do on this, and then we're kind of done with this one. So there's a lot of things we can do with this. And that was just kind of walking through, starting from an existing image and kind of looking through the properties and kind of doing some things on it. So if we look a little bit further, walk through one more set of I am quickly running out of time. So, where are we here? Okay, so I kind of walked you through most of this, right? We opened an image, we looked at the size, we looked at the format, we looked at the mode. We did that using, this code right here. Important format and mode are both strings, right? So this is JPEG, this is RGB. Size is another tuple because it's essentially the maximum coordinates, or one more than the maximum coordinates for the image. So if we look at swarm, for example, we can do right, there's the swarm guy. We can do, what can I do with that? I should actually put that into a variable. You guys familiar with Swarm? Do they still do Swarm at RPI? Or you guys haven't been here long enough to... Swarm used to be, or maybe still is, one of our mascots for one of the sports teams. But all the things that we did with our chipmunk, we can do with Swarm as well. Size is a tuple. Format is a string. Mode is a string. I think I am running out of time. So we will pick this up with new, crop, and resize at the next lecture. Did we go to foot? It's 2:30. No, it's 3:50, right? Yeah. I wish we did do 2 hours. It would make getting these lectures in a lot easier. I'm going to pick this up. We're going to stop now. I'll hang out and answer questions. So I will go till 4:20 if we need to. But I'll stop and answer questions now, and we'll kind of pick this up in the next lecture. In the meantime, I want you guys to know that you can work through this. It's not that complicated. It's a lot of fun. We don't actually have a lot more to do in this lecture. But at the bottom here are some things you can kind of look at. This is what we think we've covered. So, hopefully you think we've covered the same stuff and then we're all golden. But this is the kind of things you should be looking at. And we will give you information on the test on Thursday. We will, tell you how you're going to take the test. We may have to push that out a little bit beyond Thursday, but definitely by next Tuesday or next Monday, you'll have that information as well. And we will give you a study guide on Thursday. And if this holds up the way it normally does, we will also do a review block just before the test on October 1st. Or we'll do a review block during your normally scheduled lecture time, which will be a few hours before the test. It's completely optional. Attendance is not required, but we will answer. It'll be generally free form. You guys come in and ask me questions, and I answer them to the best of my ability. Anyway, I will see you guys in 3 days, and we will pick this up. All right. Any questions? Like I said, I'll hang out here for a little bit.